Salam and peace. This is Chantal of Honored Womb, author of Peaceful Periods, and welcome to our upcoming or our next chat in our Remembering Our Rites IG Live chat series, where we are talking about first period and postpartum traditions from around the world. Today, I will be joined by my dear sister and friend, Nilo. She runs a business called Handheld Births. And she'll be joining us to talk about traditions in Indian heritage. And we're really glad to have you all. He cooperates today. We've had some successful chats. We've also had Assalamu alaikum. Okay, if you can hear me, I can hear you. I can see you. You can see me.
I can see you, yes.
Okay, and now we need to know if the audience can see and hear us because the last chat, it was an amazing chat. So I'm seeing hearts. I'm assuming we are good. Alhamdulillah, it's really good to see you. How are you
I'm good.
feeling today?
Good, alhamdulillah. It's 9 a.m. here. Just dropped off the kids, came home, quickly showered. I was like, I gotta look decent at
You
least.
do. You look fresh. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So yes and yes, people can hear us and see us. Alhamdulillah. All right, Bismillah. So I am really excited to hear about, do you have any early period stories from your heritage that you want to share? Did I even finish introducing you? So I know that you are you attend births, you have been a birth companion for over a decade, right? 15
Yes,
years, and
yes.
you have also been a postpartum care provider in the more recent years. And um, is there anything else you want to add about what you do other than being a mom?
I think that's it. Yeah. I love interior design. That's I actually went to school for interior design. That was
Okay.
actually my degree. And then when I became a mother, everything just shifted and I
Hmm.
transitioned to birth work. So yeah, I've been a birth doula. I did birth doula work for 15 years, the last 15 years. I transitioned or added on traditional postpartum work after my third son. So that was 9 years ago. And then I started midwifery after my fourth. So every kid something new. I add something new.
Girl, tell me about it. Tell me
Yeah.
about it. I feel like every birth and baby comes with its assignment and,
Yes.
the lesson, the pivot, the assignment, the upgrade in certain ways. So yeah, I can totally
Yeah.
feel that. MashaAllah.
Yeah.
But
Alhamdulillah.
all things
Yeah.
birthy and birth
Yes,
related. Alhamdulillah.
all things directly birth related. Yes.
Awesome. Um, so maybe we should start with the postpartum tradition since
Yeah.
that's what you made mention of. So what are some of the practices? I'm curious, did you grow up witnessing postpartum care practiced in your family and in your culture and community?
Yeah. So my story is a little bit interesting. It wasn't this story of like heritage that came down to me or something that somebody taught me. It was actually lost. My
Hmm.
family migrated from India to England, actually. My mom was only, she must have been like 17, 18 when they left. She was already married to my dad at the time. And so she had all her kids in England. And they had family with them, like my uncles, my aunts, my grandmothers were with them. But it was more so seen as, oh, that's what we did back home. Like we're in the West now. We don't really do that kind of stuff. But the thing that stuck with them was food. So what to feed a new mom, certain meals like just like in Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, um, in the Indian culture, also like the hot and cold, also in the prophetic medicine, the hot and cold is a really big thing. So what a mom should be eating when she's in her pregnancy, what she should be eating when she's in postpartum and breastfeeding. So they kept those traditions. When my family moved to America, they were the only ones that came. So my mom
Hmm.
was completely by herself. My
Hmm.
grandmother came with her. My grandmother is that kind of person who has all these secrets, but won't share them unless you directly ask her, which I noticed. So when it was my turn or my sister's, like traditionally you go, you stay with your family, your mother takes care of you, or she'll come stay with you. So I did that with my first. I went, stayed at my parents' house. Um, and my mom, she was feeding me things, but there was no mention of this is what you're supposed to do to heal. Like you're going through this healing journey and you need to, focus on your rest and healing and nourishment and kind of build that cup back up, fill that cup back up. She would mention things like, oh, you need to like, you have to tie your stomach, but there was no mention of why. So for me, as a
Mm,
22-year-old, I'm translating that as, oh my God, she just wants me to be skinny again, you know? So it
mm,
was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was like rebelling against the advices that they were giving me because nothing was explained to me. They didn't know how to explain it to me.
mm,
I had my second child, pretty soon after. And then I was just kind of like two toddlers, like a baby and a toddler, like just kind of struggling. And then I had a big gap between the second and the third, and I learned so many things during that 7 year gap. I already was doing birth work. I was seeing, I wasn't seeing clients like postpartum, but I was witnessing, their postpartum journey when I would do like the one or two visits immediately after birth. And then I had my third, and I went through a really hard time in my
mm,
postpartum. I struggled with breastfeeding for the first time. I went through postpartum depression. I didn't rest. My husband, for all the first three births, he works in the medical field, so he didn't take time off either. So it was just kind of go, go, go. And the third time around really hit me, and I was struggling hard. And so I was actively seeking advice and seeking like there must be another way to do this. Like there's no way that we were living in the village back home and there wasn't care given to a mother.
mm.
Like how did she have so many kids and just mentally she was fine? So my grandmother would come visit me. My grandmother lived close by. She passed 2 years ago. May Allah give
Birhamha.
her higher ranks, inshallah.
I mean,
I learned so much from her. So one day she came to visit me and I had asked her, like, when you guys were having babies in India, what did you do? What did you guys eat? How did you take care of yourselves? And then she just opened up and started telling me, oh, we weren't like you girls here. We stayed in bed for 40 days. Somebody came and gave us a massage every single day. They massaged the baby. We would wrap our tummies because when you're pregnant everything moves around. Like she knew, even though she wasn't
mm,
educated, she never went to school. She probably did most like elementary school, but she understood the science behind it.
yeah.
So she was saying that your organs shift, everything shifts. There's air inside of you that needs to expel. We would do like in Africa, they do this as well. It's called dukan, where it's like the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's smoke steam. So they would do that where they would put a mom in a room and basically start a fire and put certain herbs in the fire, and she would be in there in the smoke, and that would be like healing for her
Mm,
perineum. Um, and so she was just telling me all these things. And then I started asking, friends whose moms would come stay with them and take care of them and watch like their tradition from different traditions and backgrounds, not just India. And I was just amazed how, oh wow, like everyone kind of does the same thing. Why is this lost in America or in the West? Like, why is this such a foreign concept? So after I had, my third, by the time he was 6 months, I felt okay to go and take care of my friends. And I just would tell them, hey, I'm kind of doing this thing. I want to come take care of you in postpartum for free. Like, I'll just do it. Just tell me how you like it. And I learned so much in that time before I turned it into an actual business. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about how to take care of women traditionally and how to honor. the postpartum. A
Mm.
lot of, mothers feel like, oh, we have a baby, we just have to get up and go. Like that's just life. And, it's just kind of bringing back that idea of just like we take care of ourselves in pregnancy, we do a lot of education and around the birth, choosing what kind of birth you want, what kind of environment you want. It doesn't stop after the baby's born. It should just
Mhm.
translate into your postpartum. So you
Yeah.
feel like a whole person in the end. Like I took care of myself when I had my periods, in my pregnancy, and now postpartum.
Mm.
So it's become like this it's just these stages of life, these seasons of life that continues, the care continues and the knowledge continues. So for me, it's really about reviving those traditions, um, because I didn't have it. And so I want it for other women.
Mm. So the same with your period care. That's something you didn't
Oh,
witness
yeah.
growing up, but then you started to.
Yeah. My period story is kind of funny. um, it's the same. My mom, um the way she was, like, everything was kind of hush hush, like you don't talk about certain things, so she wouldn't teach me things, and I'm the youngest of four, for her. And she has three there's three girls and we have one brother. And I don't know if it was because she wasn't around her people and her village and moved to like a foreign place, that's why she was like this, or it's just, you know or it's just part of the culture. In some countries, and I see especially in India, certain things are not talked about. Like it's considered like you don't talk about that stuff. That's like private matters. And it could just be the family upbringing or the society you're around. Not everything is open. So if the period was just like that. I knew what a period was. Obviously, I went to a public school. I was exposed to a lot through friends, but nothing was taught to me from my family. So when I actually got my first period, my mom wasn't home. My older sister was home. We had like cousins over, and I went and told her like, oh, there's blood on my underwear. And so she took me to the bathroom and she just kind of handed me a pad and was like, here, just put this on, and that was that. And so the next day, like I didn't even know, like, oh, you're supposed to take the sticky strip off and put it on the underwear. Like I had no idea. I didn't know like how often am I supposed to change this. Like there was like nobody said anything to me. And I can't blame her because she's a teenager herself.
Yeah.
The next day was Jummah. It was Friday, and I was in my mom's room, and I guess my sister had told her. And I just was like helping my mom fold laundry. My dad came in and was like, "Okay, Nilo, come on, let's go to Jummah, let's go to the masjid." And my mom just was like, "Oh, she's not praying." And then that was that. And my dad is very empathetic, and he's like the very like loving one. So he had this big smile on his face, and he just
Oh.
was like, oh, like she's not praying. And like my mom kind of shut it down, was like, yeah, 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 she's not, that's enough, like just go. Like it was awkward for her to see him
Yeah.
excited for me and happy for
Aw.
me. 'Cause they're like polar opposites. So in my head I was like, oh, was that her acknowledging me getting my period? But still she had never like mentioned it to me,
Mm.
like the rituals around ghusl and everything, like my sister taught me that
Okay.
because my mom told her to teach me. It was like for my mom, it was like, I don't know, like too embarrassing for her
Yeah.
to talk about it. And that transpired to when I got married as well. There were certain things that needed to be talked about, and she never talked to me about it. And I just figured things out on my own, and which is sad. It's sad. But alhamdulillah, like I'm glad I have like sisters and like cousins, and I had good friends around me, like good Muslim friends, whose moms were more open. So sometimes their moms would talk to me, about
Yeah.
things. Um, but knowing all of that, like when I became a mother, I knew, oh, I am not going to do this to my daughter. Like, I'm not even going to do this to my son. Like, he must know things. Especially around like periods and pregnancy and birth and postpartum, like because he's going to be married one day and have a wife and inshallah have daughters of his own. So
Yeah.
when I had my daughter, things just completely shifted. And there was a lot of talking to her about things, and I always say my daughter, is my mom's perfect daughter because she's very
Mm.
shy. She doesn't want to talk about things, and I'm like, no, we're going to talk about this. We're going to express this, and you're going to know these things. So that's interesting. And it was an interesting shift too. And like celebrating her first period was a big deal for me. I wanted to have this big celebration. She's very shy and a bit of an introvert. So she was like, no, no, me and you can go out and like celebrate, but like I don't want any of my friends over. Like that's weird.
That's weird.
Yeah. I actually bought her your book.
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation around celebrating her first period, and you were telling me
Yeah.
she is very shy. She's not the,
Yeah.
big party type. And I was like, yeah, that's part of it too. It's figuring out what celebration means to her
Yeah.
and what feels celebratory because it could be private, but I think it's important that something happens, because I
Yeah.
often with my first period I have a lot of missing information because there was just no marker. It was just
Yeah.
like, okay, I had my period. I remember I have a clear memory of going to school after having my period and feeling like finally, because I was younger than a lot of my
Yeah.
classmates, so I had this feeling of finally I'm in the club. I remember that day very clearly in my head how I felt, but actually having my period in my family, my both of my parents are Jamaican, and my mom didn't have celebration. Her parents had already migrated to the US. So it was basically her older sister kind of supporting her.
Mm.
And yeah, my mom often says, well, I feel like there's a lot of similarity when I speak to other Caribbeans as well, that there's not a lot of conversation
Mm.
about these things. And, my mom's refrain has always been like, we third world people, we didn't talk about these things,
Yeah.
like, and that's just how they were brought up. But it makes me wonder, how long has this been the tradition? Is this something that
Mm.
was disrupted by colonialism,
Mm.
disrupted by enslavement? You have a lot of different variables that have kind of interrupted our intergenerational legacies and heritage, migration, right? I remember learning about something about Ayurvedic medicine in India, and just how at some point with like British influence and trying to give validity to the kind of British established medical system and hospitals, it was like they were suppressing Ayurvedic medicine and it was
Mm.
really repressed. And they actually say it was women who were the keepers of Ayurvedic knowledge
Mm.
because, you have that criminalization, right? Like, oh, that's old ways, that's folk
Yeah.
medicine, old wives' tales. It's dated, it's backwards,
Yeah.
and it's being replaced by this, you know, so-called superior, more informed, more
Mhm.
scientific, replacement. And here we are seeing the shortcomings of Western medical care and the
Yeah.
revival and the reverence being brought back for indigenous, healing modalities and herbalism and traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, even the revival
Yeah.
of Black American traditions, so I feel like our generation is definitely one of reclaiming. Like people often see
Yes.
how open I am about talking about periods and birth and postpartum and assume like, oh, you've always been brought up this way. And it's like, oh
Hmm.
no, oh
Yeah.
no, very similarly to you. Yeah, there was not a lot of conversation at all. I'm the only daughter for my children, for my parents. So I
Hmm.
didn't have a big sister, but I
Yeah.
had a lot of older friends. So a lot of the things, unfortunately, I learned information and misinformation from my older
Yes.
peers. You can't go swimming when you have your period because sharks,
Yeah.
they might.
They're gonna eat you alive.
Exactly, all kinds of it. So yeah, so it has been a very intentional reclaiming of period care as well as that postpartum care and learning and borrowing until we figure out, what
Yes.
exactly was our heritage. And so
Yeah.
are there some specific foods or some specific practices? I
Yeah.
know generally you mentioned warming foods and binding. Oh, I was going to say I'm totally with you on the binding because similarly, my even though I didn't witness my mother receiving postpartum care, my younger brother is 10 years younger than me. So I remember his birth, but I don't remember care or people coming or any
Yeah.
special attention given to her, to be honest. I remember her being really tired and helping with the baby, helping with my baby brother, but I don't remember special food, special care at all. And then when I gave birth to my daughter, I was overseas and my mom, we were on the phone and she said, make sure you tie your belly. And as my assumption as well was like, oh, but this is an aesthetic thing. Like,
Hmm.
why, what's the point? So that my belly's flat? Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about the appearance. Like, I want to be rested and well. But
Yeah.
again, sometimes traditions get passed down without the explanation. And,
Yeah.
our generations, like, I need to know why,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
are we doing this? And
Yeah.
so even when I became a steaming practitioner, I was living in Oman at the time, and a lot of young, educated Omanis, they would say to me, Omani women, they would say, our grandmothers told us stuff like this, but they couldn't explain it, so we just rejected it. And
Mm.
so, so it's just an interesting, and at the same time, there are traditions that get passed that have no, we still don't understand, like, what's the purpose of this or that.
Yeah.
So, we're in this information age where there's a sense of, I don't know, there needs to be a balance of really honoring the fact that if traditions live that long, that there's something there for you, and being a bit
Exactly.
soft and open to it, and giving yourself space to witness for yourself. How does it feel for you? How
Yeah.
does it impact you? I remember I tried wrapping myself, and I was like, this isn't really doing much. And so I didn't really stick with it. But then my mom came after that first birth and she wrapped me tightly. And I was like,
Mm.
ooh, like I went from feeling like Humpty Dumpty, like,
Yeah, it feels
there was
good.
there was initially this containment because
Yeah.
everything is so strange to the first time you experience your body after having expanded so much, and
Mm.
then your belly is sagging.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to do with this spaciousness and all this fluid that's filling you up. And so when she wrapped me, I felt like, oh, that feels good, and that was the only thing I needed to really continue. And I remember the other thing with that first birth, I was given an episiotomy and I had stitches. And I remember before she came, I was just feeling I didn't have an appetite. I was so irritated and frustrated by not being able to sit comfortably that I didn't want to eat. And I was really, I didn't want an episiotomy. So I was like, I feel mutilated. And I was still
Mm.
angry. And
Yeah.
and they don't give you any tools. They don't really tell you, okay, this is how you care for those stitches. This is how you care for your perineum. And then it wasn't until my mom came, my mom was like, and my mom is a nurse, but she said, you need to sit in salt water. And so we
Mm.
just took the baby's bath basin, and she
Mhm.
said, as hot as you can tolerate it, put some salt water, and sitting in that. And I was like, oh, okay, now I can feel like healing feels possible
Yeah.
now. And so for me, it just, and before I gave birth, my husband would, his students, because he's an educator, they would be like, who's going to take care of your wife after she gives birth? He was like, I will. And all the girls were like, Miskina, like,
Yeah.
poor thing,
Yeah.
and then they would come back and say, my mom will take your wife. Like, my mom will take your wife for the 40 days. And I was just like, who do they think I am? Like, I'm not going to, I just,
Yeah.
New Yorker, I knew
Totally.
everything. Like, why am I going to some stranger's house? I don't even know if I'll understand them. And why would I
Yeah.
be away from my husband? It's just a different understanding, but it's the reality that women know what women need and mothers know what mothers need because they've
Yes.
been in that experience. And so, yes, we very arrogantly thought like, oh, all I need is my man and we're going to be all right. Like, we're going to figure
Yeah.
this out. But there's certain things he couldn't do for me. He couldn't comprehend for me. And until my mom came, and that, like, her recollection of what supported her giving that to me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is why we have to mother mothers, we have
Yes.
to, because there's like an actual lived experience that that they know intuitively and can support. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd like to hear just a couple of more details about like what kind of foods. I know about your turmeric milk that I have not I have not made your recipe yet,
Oh,
but
you have to make it, inshallah.
I know. But so yeah, what are there some like particular foods and also
Yeah,
the
so
hot stone? I remember that
yes.
one because I know that you use that hot stone in your postpartum care.
Yes, yeah. So with the foods, generally like anything that's has heating properties, like the temperament is hot or warm, right? And that's a whole other science in itself, so I won't get into that. But for in our culture and tradition, now India is huge, so there's different regions in India. So I'm talking specifically about where I'm from in India. We have this. It's kind of like a ball, like it would look like a date ball, and in there you put like semolina, um, like jaggery and fenugreek and coconut. And
Mm,
they would make, they would like toast everything and then they would make little balls out of it. So that's like for a postpartum mom. Whenever somebody has a baby in the family, you make a big tray of it. My niece actually just gave birth, and
mm,
so they're like making that at home right now in
mm,
England. And the mom is supposed to eat that like throughout the day, especially when she's nursing her baby. There's always like a little plate with like two or three of them next to her to have. Um, and then the turmeric milk that I came up with, it's actually I've combined two separate things into one. So, turmeric traditionally is very healing. It's anti-inflammatory. Um, and so growing up in like the, South Asian culture, whenever you're sick, your mom or grandmother would make you, it's called haldi doodh, which means like turmeric milk, and they would put cook milk with turmeric in it, and it would just taste disgusting. Honestly, like it just is like a gross taste, like very, you know if you've ever tasted turmeric on its own, it's
hmm.
not
It's
a
not
pleasant
pleasant.
taste.
No.
Yeah. So taking from that concept of I want something like this for new moms, where it's like it's something healing and warming and from our tradition, but adding another element to it, which is called panjiri. So panjiri is a mix of nuts and jaggery again and dried fruit that you make for special occasions. So you could make it for weddings as well, and you could make it when someone has a baby, you make little bags of it, you pass it to the neighbors or the friends, and then you give it to the mom as well. So she's meant to take like just a spoonful of it throughout the day,
Mm,
And again, it helps with milk supply, it helps just with like the healings, making the bones stronger. So I kind of combine the two because Banjiri tastes, it has like a sweet taste to it. It's good, it's nutty, So I kind of combine the two to make my turmeric milk. So when people taste, especially moms that are like from India or Pakistan, they're like, "Oh, this tastes so familiar," like this tastes like
mm,
something I've had before, and it's like, yeah, it's you have had it before. It
mhm,
also tastes a little bit like there's something called sheer kurma that we make for Eid, like Eid morning, and it has those same elements like the cardamom and saffron. So it does, with the milk added to it, it does taste like that too. So it's like this, it kind of brings you back to your childhood of like, oh,
mm,
Eid morning, like a happy celebration. And I wanted them to have that feeling as opposed to drinking just the turmeric milk and, oh, this is like what I had when I was sick. My mom used to give me this when I was sick. So I wanted them to drink it and feel like instantly like happiness and like, oh, it
mm.
reminds me of like a celebration,
Yeah, that's
which
brilliant. It's an
yeah.
original recipe. You need to.
Yes.
You're so generous of you to share it. I won't act like a capitalist and say you need to trademark it, patent
Everybody's like,
it.
no, we need to sell that. It's a lot of work and
It
it's
is.
expensive.
It is. I noticed that because like yeah, it's very rich. It has a lot
Yeah.
of rich and I know that, like quality saffron could be very expensive
Yes.
and it has all of those ground nuts.
Yes.
And so yeah, my I gave birth sooner than I planned. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and get, go to the shop and get all of the different nuts and stuff. And, alhamdulillah, it didn't happen.
No, if
But,
you lived in the States, I would have sent you some.
I know you would have. So that's really, yeah, I like that idea, of the balls, what do you call those semolina balls with the fenugreek?
We call them laru, or
Okay.
it kind of is like, have you heard of a laddu?
Mm-hmm.
So the yellow, it's like a yellow orange ball. So
Yes.
it's like similar to, but completely different ingredients. So we call it
Okay.
ladu in our culture.
And where are
Um,
you from in India? Where's your family
so in
from?
India, we're from Bombay.
Okay.
Um, but we're like India is so interesting where you could be from a place but have a completely different like identity and culture. So we're actually Koknis.
Okay.
Um, so the Kokni people, there's no place, it's a language. So our
Mm-hmm.
culture is based off of our language. So you could kind of live anywhere in India or Pakistan and be Kokni. Um, so we have our own like special foods. A lot of the Koknis, they lived by the water. A lot of them were like fishermen, so we eat a lot of fish, um,
Mm,
like a lot of dals. We have our own specific special foods that we eat, that are different from different regions of
mm.
India, which is kind of cool,
It is.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, I believe she's Tamil,
Yeah.
and so she remembers having a huge party for her first period, and
Yeah.
all of her relatives were there. It wasn't just the women, and she was given gifts, and she was given a new sari, and
Yeah.
she remembers being given a sandalwood scrub and a
Oh, yeah.
floral bath.
Yes.
And then she showed me even pictures from it, and it was like it kind of reminded me of like how your prom or your sweet
Yeah.
16 or something like that, that rite of passage, that kind of coming of age.
Quinceañera,
And
yeah.
yeah, and she said it still stays with her, the memory of her uncles and cousins, everyone celebrating her. And I remember I brought this up in a class I was teaching, and another friend, she's Kashmiri, from Pakistan, and she was saying our culture is nothing like that, and we're so close in proximity. So I think,
Yeah.
like you're saying, different heritages, and
Yeah.
it's a large country, right? So obviously, borders are a newer convention. People have been organized around their particular ethnic groups, their
Yeah.
language, their tribes, etc. So everyone's kind of
I,
like
yeah.
jammed together in a so-called
Totally.
country and a
Yeah.
nationality, but it's so varied, right?
Yeah, I feel like religion is a big part of this as well.
Mm.
Because I have seen, like, even when I go to clients, if I have like a Hindu client or a Sikh client, they tell me, like, oh, yeah, we do things for like our period. It's like a big celebration. And
Mm,
it's like they've kept that tradition. They're not shy from it. It's not seen
mm,
as something embarrassing or something
yeah.
we don't talk about. But I have noticed in, you know, Southeast Asia, when it comes to the Muslim families, those things are kind of they're not talked about.
Hmm.
And obviously that's not even from our deen. It's not even from
Exactly.
Islam. So it's
Yes.
like what happened in that time where we're supposed to openly talk about these things. There's no shame in Islam, right? Like you openly ask questions, you talk about these things, you celebrate things. And then it became this kind of shameful thing that, oh, this is something that women do, and you kind of keep it hidden, and we don't
Mm,
express it and make it public. Even just the fact of like when a girl gets pregnant, it's like it would be kind of awkward to tell your dad I'm
mm,
pregnant, you know? It's like, because then, oh, how did she get pregnant? It's like all these things.
yeah. The baby
It's not
just
that big of a
came,
deal.
descended from
Yeah,
the sky, woke up, and there was a baby moving inside of me.
exactly. So
I don't do baby making things. I don't do those things.
I definitely feel like we have to, when holding on to our culture, definitely, but also as Muslim women, we have to look to our deen because our deen is
Mm,
so beautiful and
yes.
celebrates these aspects of women and gives women such a high status in Allah's eyes. And so,
Hmm.
so sometimes it's like you have to separate your culture to take from your deen and realize like, oh, as a Muslim woman, I am being honored by my God, by Allah, and I need to like
Mm-hmm.
tap into that instead of what my
Yeah.
culture is telling me,
Yeah.
like looking through things through the Muslim lens, really.
Exactly. And, one thing that I always love to bring up because, I think the concept of ritual purity gets very contorted. Even the word, right? And so obviously we have what's considered ritual purity, so different prerequisites, conditions, ways that we wash ourselves before certain acts
Yeah.
of worship. And that's ritual purity, but that doesn't mean we are impure, right? We are not impure because we are in states or we pass through states where maybe certain rituals we're not able to perform them, etc. And so I had a conversation with Sheikha Shaista Makbul a couple of years ago, and she always tells me of a narration about a companion who was in a state of janaba, so he was not purified, he was outside of ritual purity, and he saw the Prophet ﷺ at a distance, but he was like hiding from him because he didn't want to be seen by him in that state. He didn't want to
Yeah.
greet him. And then later on, when the Prophet ﷺ said, I was looking for you, and he was like, well, I was in a state of janub, and he was shy to be with him, and he said, the believer cannot be impure, right? Like we are not impure, right? Our if this is not a moral impurity or a spiritual impurity, it's just a state that we pass through ritually, and it's lifted. And so even sometimes on the internet, I hear women when the conversation is around like, okay, don't Muslim women pray or fast in Ramadan? And I hear Muslim women saying, oh, it's because we're filthy. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, we're not filthy. We need to really be conscious of our language. And like you said, filter out the cultural ideas that make women feel filthy, or if women are considered filthy because they're menstruating, that's not from our tradition, right? That's not from our faith. So I think language is so powerful in how we talk about women's bodies, how we talk about menstruation and discharge and
Yes.
postpartum, all of these things. We really need to be conscious of the language that we are using so that we don't plant these seeds of self shame, self hate, in the minds and hearts of girls and women, right? You're raising
Yes.
daughters, I'm raising a daughter. It's so important that they know from the start that the fact that they menstruate and bleed, that this is not a deficiency, and nor is it something disgusting.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Just like, as Muslims and as Muslim women, really looking to the Prophet ﷺ,
I love Salam.
he was our teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and the Prophet ﷺ did things intentionally to teach the Sahabas, right? And to teach us. There's a famous hadith where Sayyidina Aisha was on her period, and the Prophet ﷺ was laying, he had his head on her lap, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And one of the Sahabas came in and he was like talking to him while continuing to lay on her lap. So it's like if we were dirty, he would never do that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was instances like, they would shower together, and she would be
Mm-hmm.
on her period and they would shower together. So it's like just looking to them as examples and really learn. It's like we have to go back. Yes, we have to revive our culture also. So there's that aspect, but also reviving our deen and what our deen really teaches us, especially around periods and that time of like, even my mom would say like, it's like how she told my dad, like, oh, she's not praying. That was the like she's on her period, like that's how
Mm-hmm.
you explain it.
Yeah.
So I did feel like, oh, okay, I'm in a state. I don't pray because I'm dirty. I can't make wudu.
Mm.
My wudu is invalid. I can't touch the Quran. It's like I'm impure. I'm a dirty person, right? And then learning years later that no, it's like Allah's given us this gift of rest
Mm-hmm.
because we're going through so much. Our body is going through so much in that time, like physically, emotionally, mentally, everything spiritually. And so, Dr. Rania, I sat in a class with her, and she said that they would call it in Syria when she was studying, they would call it their dhikr week.
Mm.
So that, you know, you wouldn't say like, oh, I'm not praying this week. You would say, I'm in my dhikr week. So
Yeah.
you're still like spiritually connected, right? Like
Yeah.
instead of reading Quran, you're doing more dhikr, you know?
Yeah, and you're in
And
a
so like,
state of worship, right? You're in a state of obedience.
yes,
You're obeying Allah by
totally.
not praying and fasting. And, I remember when I became a new Muslim, I would always hear aunties saying, "Oh, ana fi ijaza," like I'm on holiday or I'm
Yeah,
on vacation. And
yeah,
again, what is that communicating? A holiday
yeah.
from, a vacation
Exactly.
from,
Exactly.
an
Yeah.
escape from, like
Yeah.
whereas you're actually in a very deep state of worship
Yeah.
and indigenous cultures always realized that women were of a spiritual state. They were in
Yeah.
a spiritual state when they were in that tender time. The cervix is open and releasing, the
Yes.
woman is bleeding, and so I always love when I read about in like Mayan kind of Central American heritage, how, you know, women would be in lodges together, right? They would be in lodges together, moon lodges, and they were cared for and fed. They didn't have, they were relieved of work and other duties. And then in the mornings, the community would come to them and ask them, "What did you dream?" Because they believed, like a woman's
Mhm.
spiritual state, that the veil is thinner when you're
Yeah.
bleeding. And that she was tapped in spiritually and that she had wisdom coming through her for the community, for everyone to benefit from, not just a
Yeah.
secret to be held amongst women. So I know we could talk about this all day.
I know.
So, but, really, yeah, if there's anything else you want to share about how you are kind of shifting this narrative with your daughter, anything that comes to
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, just everyone's child will be different, right? So mine is a little bit shy and
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, but even though she's shy, yes, we don't have to do big celebrations. Honoring her, and when she's on her period, like making special foods for her, and like teaching her that this is a special time when you're on
Yeah.
your period. And the men in our house also know, like we don't
Mm-hmm.
shy away from like, oh, don't talk, don't say anything in front of Baba. No, Baba knows everything, and Baba loves
Mm-hmm.
you, and Baba's honoring you as well,
Yeah.
and your brother. So because when she grows, and inshallah when she becomes a wife and a mother, she will continue that for herself. So she will
Mm-hmm.
know that, oh, when I was on my period, I gave myself this time, this I honored this time. I will honor my pregnancy, I will honor my postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a natural like progression of this is normal, this is what we do as women,
Yes.
and really just kind of pushing that narrative of this is a normal thing. This isn't like um something new. This isn't
Yeah.
like a new thing that we're trying to like do, like, oh, now everyone's talking about periods and sex health and postpartum. No, this is the tradition, and we're bringing it back because it was lost, right? And
Yeah.
so to also really recognize that this is like a healing modality. This is
Yeah.
medicine. And
Yes.
when we tell women that this is medicine, they receive it as, oh, I must do this. When
Yes.
we talk about it in a sense of this is something extra, like a nice like spa
Luxury.
session, luxury, then people pick and choose like, oh yes, I have the money for this luxury. I have the time for this luxury. So I'm going to do it. And then other people, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this luxury. I
Yeah.
don't have time for someone to come take care of me. But when we really center it as this is medicine, this is healing, then women really gravitate towards that. Like, yes, I need that healing. I want that healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for sure, it's every period is an opportunity to start preparing yourself to receive postpartum care because it is a mini
Yes.
rest, right? It's a mini break and it's a time where you allow yourself to receive care. And I think it's such an important affirmation for girls and women to know that your value is not in what you're able to produce and do, like you are inherently valuable and your rest is medicine, right? It is rejuvenating, it's protective of your health. And so I work with a lot of women sometimes who have really difficult periods after they've given birth. And it's like, well, what was your postpartum care like? We tend to compartmentalize
Yeah.
all of these things. Your periods before pregnancy impact your journey of
Totally.
conceiving, right?
Yes.
The state of your health before you're pregnant impacts your pregnancy. Your cycles even after postpartum, like your pregnancy and how you birth impacts postpartum. Your
Yes.
experience of postpartum impacts your cycles after that and
Yeah.
perimenopause. Like these are continuous cycles, and so I really hope if that we start to really invest in girls and women understanding their bodies and revering the cycles that it goes through, so that they are building the foundation for um, not depletion but rejuvenation, and like
Yeah.
honoring those cycles, those golden opportunities where you can either extremely like invest in your health or extremely deplete it, because not all days and weeks and seasons in our life are the same. So that's
Exactly.
something that really is so important. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that and for being a part of the change that you're doing. So you're still offering postpartum care
I
as a
am still
team.
offering,
Okay.
yes, I am still offering postpartum care. Yeah, if it's somewhere like further out that I can't travel to, then I have trained some sisters, and so
Awesome.
I will ask them to go if they are available. But yeah, it's important. I mean, like the birth world is like I love that. And then postpartum is more like it's like a passion project for me,
Mm,
like continuing this work. I mean, one day my dream is to like travel the world and visit different midwives and families and women, and it would be amazing to make a documentary about
mm,
traditional postpartum in different
yeah.
cultures, inshallah.
Yeah. Something close is coming. A steaming
I
documentary is coming
know.
out, and
I saw.
it's gonna be amazing. It does go
I'm
around the
so
world. I
excited.
got a chance to participate, and it's gonna rock many of our worlds. It's
I am
gonna
so
be Steaming is being used culturally, clinically, ritually around the world. It's going to be powerful. What else I was going to say, just in line with what you were saying about reclaiming our Islamic tradition. So, if anybody is in or around Spain or willing to travel to Spain, next month we have the Womb 101 retreat, which is about really cultivating womb carers and womb custodians through a lens of Islamic spirituality. And then also next month on May 3rd, I'm teaching a free webinar, More Than Pads and Pain, how to create safe spaces for holistic menstrual education. So I hope that we continue this dialogue about how we just can get our girls, rooted from the beginning, knowing how to care for themselves, seeing their value and their worth, and letting that be the foundation that the rest of their health and their lives as women are really built on, knowing that they are inherently valuable. So thank you for
Yes.
your time. Always a
Yes,
pleasure
thank
talking
you.
with you.
Yes.
And I'm going to renew my intention to make your custom made,
Inshallah.
patented. I'm going to call it Nilo milk. I can't even
Okay.
call it Terra milk.
Okay, I like that.
No latte. We're not doing the chai latte. No, this is
No, we are
Nilo.
not.
This is Nilo milk. So I will renew my intention to continue to honor the postpartum. I think tomorrow will be 11 weeks postpartum for me.
MashaAllah.
So yeah, alhamdulillah. But I'm like, no, I'm running this the whole year. I'm
I
treating
know.
like I'm not getting any
Postpartum
younger.
is forever. I
Yes.
think postpartum is forever. It doesn't end.
Yeah. So, I'm so intentional. I'm like, I know that I'm depositing in my vitality and my elder years with this care.
Yes.
So I'm going all in. Any books? Of course, Nilo Milk. My book, Peaceful Periods, Holistic Womb Care for Teens, is the book I would recommend. There are other books that have some strengths. There's a book called Cycle Savvy, which introduces ovulation tracking for youth. There's a Moon Time book that is a bit more kind of myth and story related. But yeah, I would recommend my book, and yeah, I hope that you'll come again, join us in Spain, and I hope I get to meet you one day. I got to make it over to the West Coast. It's been a really, really long time.
Yes,
All
please. I'd love to
right.
host you.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for your time.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you.
inshallah, will post this and people know how to reach out to us if you're in the Bay Area, right? You're in the Bay
Yes.
Area for postpartum care or birth work, reach out to Nilo. And yeah, and then if you need anything virtually, I'm here in Morocco, but I serve women internationally. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you
You
so much.
too.
All right.
Bye.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.